On the 21st September 2024, an almighty battle for supremacy will reign at the Wembley Stadium between Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois. On the line, the IBF title and the praise of king and country. Who will prevail? Who will land the strafing blows? Who will emerge as the victor?
On both sides of this fight, we have fighters heading into it with increasing confidence. Since his 2022 decision loss to Alexander Usyk, you have the former two-time heavyweight champion Joshua having fought the 4 times. A decision win over Jermaine Franklin, that was his comeback fight, stoppage wins against Otto Wallin, Robert Helenius, and most recently a demolition job against the MMA fighter Francis Ngannou. The former Olympic champion has clearly been forging a closer bond with his trainer Ben Davison since parting ways with Robert McCracken and his short stints with Robert Garcia and Derek James. Davison has Joshua boxing conservatively but confidently, sharpening up some of the technical side that the 34-year-old has lent into heavily since his first career loss against Andy Ruiz Jr. 5 years ago. Some of the doubt that played out ever so publicly after the second Usyk loss, it appears to be gone, or at least he's reined that in.
I don't know what's happening, but it's not nice.
His performances against Wallin and Ngannou have clearly lifted his confidence levels considerably. And he will need to believe in himself for this fight with Daniel Dubois and believe in his skill set, as it is clearly the toughest fight that he's had since those Usyk fights. And it will be very stylistically different from Usyk.
Respect on my name, bitch.
Heading into it, you have Joshua, the taller and longer fighter. And based on the way that he has been fighting, he will operate at range. He will work that jab and look for opportunities to land the right hand, the right uppercut, and the left hook. Some of it could be in combination. But it will need to start with the jab, which can be a very good weapon for the former champion in this fight. And I'm sure Joshua will have studied how effectively Joe Joyce kept jabbing and turning Daniel Dubois in 2020, ultimately moving him, busting him up, breaking him down, and leading Dubois to take the knee and quit. Joshua does have the ability to do the same as Joyce and move Dubois around with the jab. Keep the 27-year-old turning. And this is footage that Joyce put out after that fight, showing how he prepared in terms of the jab, boxing and moving. And Dubois, he has certainly looked his best when he's had a guy in front of him, a static target, and he's been able to set his feet, sit down on his shots and blast away to the body and head. But if Joshua is moving, pot-shotting with the jab and keeping Dubois at the end of that jab, it will likely see Dubois taking quite a few chances at a certain point to try collapse that distance between the two and get his best work away, including his combination punching. So I see Joshua using his height and reach advantages to its fullest, and the jab will be the most important weapon in his arsenal. Although for Dubois, it has been 4 years since the loss to Joe Joyce, and we have seen an improving Dubois since then. And he put in a very credible performance against Alexander Usyk before being broken down and stopped late in that fight. A fight that was not without its controversy given the body shot on the belt line that dropped Usyk and was ruled low. That call was hotly debated by fans. It still is. And since that Usyk loss, the second of his career, the 27-year-old has bounced back in a major way, stopping Jarrell Miller late and overcoming some mid-fight adversity, and then stopping Filip Hrgović by way of cuts in a torrid and brutal affair. These wins have given Dubois a tremendous amount of belief, and it's dampened down the quitter claims that were levelled at him by some fans after the Joyce and Usyk fights. It's clear in recent fights that Dubois has been stepping up his level of physicality in ring. He's happy to try and bully and wrestle with opponents when he's in the clinch. Also happy to make the ref rule on the use of his head on the inside and whether some of those shots to the body have strayed low. And just like Joshua, Dubois split with his long-term trainer Martin Bowers, and he linked up more than a year ago with Don Charles, and that was just before the Usyk fight. And since then we've seen the influence of Charles starting to shine through, and he has the 27-year-old believing in himself more, fighting a more physical type of fight. Dubois will also likely take something from the sparring that he's had with Joshua in the past. We've just had Anthony Fowler being quoted as saying, "Joshua got caught with a short left hook and his legs completely went." So Dubois will probably look to take something from that, but sparring is one thing and meeting the fighter in the ring another. And at times Dubois has had some shaky moments, even in his most recent wins. With the Miller fight, Miller was seemingly on top for periods of their fight before he gassed. And then you also had Dubois dropped 3 times by Kevin Lorena in one round. So while he's looked at his best while he's tracking forward, being an on-top bully, he is not invulnerable. He will need to be patient against a Joshua who will likely be tagging him with jabs and making him move and reset. But if he can manage to slip some shots, get to the mid-range or inside, he needs to make it count. And with the ability to land heavy shots with both hands to both body and head, it's likely he will have his periods of success. And if he can string together some combinations ending in a left hook to the body of Joshua, he can definitely hurt Joshua. But it is likely he will need to take some chances, make things happen to disrupt Joshua's rhythm. And I expect we will see him being very physical whenever they tie up, as he has been in his most recent fights. It could well be a momentum fight, both getting on top for periods of time, taking rounds in what probably is going to be a relatively low volume fight for the most part. Joshua will try dictate the pace from range. And given the punching power that both have, it would be easy to say that this should end in a stoppage. But part of me does think Joshua is going to try play the percentages, try to blunt Dubois with that jab, try to control the action from range, break him down, and this ends in a decision. I'm sure he'll try to go for the knockout shot if it comes, both will, but it may not come. And it'll be interesting to see as well, if Dubois can stun Joshua or even drop him, how long will it take Joshua to recover? In the past, it has taken him multiple rounds when he's been down. Say against Klitschko, had to take multiple rounds to shake it off. And that could be critical in a fight like this if it ends up going the distance, although Dubois is a very good finisher. Expect Joshua to box smart and Daniel Dubois to be aggressive. And I'm torn about the result here, because I think Dubois can totally stop Joshua, but I think expect Joshua to be at range, and I think he's going to win by decision. Maybe a sort of 7-5, 8-4 type of fight.